Welcome back to the Lisa Show.
Buying a new home can be exciting. It's not only a good... Don't laugh when I say that. It can be.
Yes,
it's
yes,
exciting.
yes.
It's fun
It
to
can
go
also-
look at houses.
It can also be stressful.
Yeah.
It can be divisive.
Oh.
It can be a
lot of work.
Yes.
Right?
It can be a chore. It can be an adventure.
Think about it this way, though. It's an investment and a place to live, right? It's a place to put down roots, to create a new energy in your life, right? A new feeling.
Yeah, if you do the anxiety around things like this like I do, it can make or break the rest of your life.
Okay.
That's how I start to think of things like this.
I will admit it can be daunting. There's a lot of factors to consider. Do you need to or should you get a pre-approval? Does it matter if taxes are adjusted after you purchase the home? What if the house is right but the location isn't?
Well, any realtor friend of mine would say location.
Well, obviously we need an expert to come in, talk to us, help us out a little bit to answer some of these questions. So we've invited realtor Jason Gelios on. Welcome. Thanks for being here, Jason.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Good morning.
We got a lot of questions and a lot of different feelings and perspectives about buying a home, whether it's your first time or it's another home. What is the first thing that a homeowner needs to do to find that house?
Right. Well, the first step, and often the most overlooked, is actually getting that solid pre-approval. Too many times, they get excited, which is okay. It's okay to be ecstatic. But they want to go out and look for the house first. And I think that you really have to, even if you're not 100%, committed to purchasing something, you want to make sure that you get the solid pre-approval. And that means speaking with the lender, having them verify your income, your credit, all those things. Because too many times I've seen it, especially my first year when I was a real estate agent, it was like, you know what? I was so excited to have a buyer, and I don't worry about that, right? Let's see if we find something first. And what would happen, I had this happen once, and then I actually learned, kind of like, touching a hot stove, where
Yeah.
where they wanted to place an offer. And then, one, you have to have a pre-approval, a solid pre-approval with the lender, the letter, when you submit your offer. But two, I found out they weren't even qualified for it because the taxes or other debt that they had, it wasn't verified. And so the pre-approval is the first step. If somebody gets pre-approved and they don't find a house, that's okay. But you don't want to go out, especially with an agent, and you fall in love with a place, and then, we didn't calculate your income, we didn't calculate debt, we didn't calculate any of these things, child support. Sometimes things pop up. Mm-hmm. So pre-approval is the absolute first step.
The way that I think of pre-approval is think of that little kid in the penny candy store that comes in with a change full of money and says, "What can I get for this monies?" And we have to, the lender.
They want the king size Snickers, but they may not have enough pennies for that.
You don't have, this bigger one? This one only is 10 cents, or whatever the thing may be, to really know what you can be able to spend. But because you can spend everything in a pre-approval, should you?
Right. I mean, no, absolutely not. I advise all my home buyers, especially first-time buyers, that if you're approved for, let's say, $300,000, that doesn't mean that you go out and you get a $300,000 house, because I'll tell you why. Many times when they're pre-approved, a lender will put in an estimate of taxes. And so let's say they do go out and they get a $300,000 house, but if the area has a higher tax amount than what the lender estimated, they might not get approved for that home. Now, on the flip side, they can go into a different area, and let's say the taxes are less than what the lender estimated. Maybe they can get approved for $310,000. But I don't advise somebody maxing out their budget. Mm-hmm. I know it does happen a lot. What I tend to do is I'll shop for them, right? I'll pull up houses up to that range to give them an idea. And ultimately, it's up to the buyer. I can't force them to not max out. Right. But I've seen a lot of home buyers where they're, once they get the budget in check, right, where they're like, oh, okay, I have to also estimate for, maybe private mortgage insurance, maybe that higher tax amount, whatever the case may be. It's just, it makes sense that they shop smart. And you have to also, think about extra costs that could come up. Maybe something needs to be repaired in the home. What if the AC dies? What if, the furnace dies? All these things. So I always advise any client, don't max out.
Don't max out.
Be smart. Don't max out on a home. Even if it will maybe gain equity, still don't do that.
Do you have any advice for finding the right lender to help you through that pre-approval process?
That's a great question. So, yes, one big tip about choosing a lender, and I've seen this often. I was actually in the mortgage industry for about a decade, and I saw this so many times where people would fall for the advertised rate. They say, well, I called 2 lenders, and this lender is, 0.125 less than this lender, but they don't ask about the closing costs. And so choosing the right lender, one, go with your gut, right? If you're meeting with somebody or speak with them over the phone, you want to make sure, okay, I feel comfortable with this person. They're educating me versus just trying to get me to sign up quick. And then 2, ask about the closing costs. What are some of the fees? If I'm getting a 0.125 less rate, right, the advertised rate is less, am I paying to have that advertised rate? Many times, and I'm not going to name lenders, but many times lenders, they'll advertise a lower rate. People are like, well, I thought the national rate was 3%, but, this other lender told me, 3.2. It's like, yeah, because the advertised rate has you paying a point to get that rate, which makes it just, for me personally, it doesn't make any sense to buy down the rate.
Okay.
We're talking with Jason Gelios about home buying, first-time home buying, whether that's what we're doing, or maybe you're just hearing about how the market is so hot right now, and you can get more.
It's time to go.
It's time to get into a better work-from-home situation, and you want that better office for your work from home. What are other mistakes that people make in the home buying process? We've talked about not getting the pre-approval. We've talked about purchasing more home than they can maybe afford, or pushing their budget to the limit. What are other mistakes that people make?
So especially in this hyperactive market right now where, we're seeing literally over a dozen offers over asking on each property. I think home buyers tend to get emotional too early about the home. They'll see a home, they love it. Maybe they waive the home inspection. Maybe, if it's a rural area, they say don't, unless it's a mandatory thing, maybe I'm not going to pay extra and get the well and septic field inspection. I just want this house. And I think emotions are always going to be there. But at the same time, they have to keep that in check. And then you have something similar where if it's not a seller's market, you have buyers that maybe they jump into an open house and the listing agent is there who represents the seller, and they're in the home and they're like, oh, this is so beautiful, right? They're revealing all this emotion, but then they try to negotiate for less when that agent tells their seller, you know what, they were in here, they were all giddy, they were planning out the rooms. We don't have to negotiate with them, right? They're going to buy it. So I think when you're looking at houses, even if you're with an agent, which by the way, I advise all my clients when I go out and I show them a home, I say, assume that you're on video.
Time to put on your poker face.
Poker face, exactly.
Don't get too excited. Oh, that would be really difficult for someone like me.
What do you mean?
Nothing. No reason.
Yeah. It's true, though. You have to go in and just, okay. And then, you know what? Drive down the street and then, get out of your car, jump up and down, be like, oh, my gosh, and then place the offer. Don't do it in front because there's cameras everywhere. And somebody could say, well, they have to tell us. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, they probably don't. Many won't. So
I like that. It's interesting when we go in and we do get emotionally invested when we look at homes and sort of think out loud when we're walking through with a realtor or with our family. When we're trying to determine that, our needs. So this is a little bit more of a personal question. What advice do you have for those who are trying to decide, how much do they need and how much do they want in a house?
Great question. So people should really sit down and think, okay, what do I need to functionally work in this house? Do I need to be close to a highway? Do I need a nice sized backyard? It's funny, earlier you were actually talking about how more and more people are remote working. And, that's actually affecting the housing market. In my area, maybe a little bit north of us, it goes from suburbs to rural. And these homes, prior to the pandemic, would typically sit. Beautiful homes would still sit for a little bit longer, maybe 30 to 60 days. Nothing wrong with them. It was expected. Now, there's people making a mad rush to these homes. I mean, it looks like an auction. You show up, and it's like there's I kid you not, like 8 other agents, and we're all taking our turn, going in because of COVID, right? But and so people remote working, that's a huge thing right now, is they're realizing, okay, if I'm going to be working from home permanently, then I need a home that actually makes more sense. Late 2019, the dedicated home office trend was fading away. Mm-hmm. Now, it's one of the hottest things. Like, I have to have a dedicated space. So you have to be able to make a list and say, okay, before I even go out, what do I need out of a home? And that's actually one of the questions I ask my buyer clients is, okay, what are you looking for? Yes, okay, price, maybe location, right?
Mm-hmm. But one more location, Jason. Yeah. It's 3 locations.
That's right.
Thank you.
I'm off my game today. It's like location.
Thank you.
Which is true. But, it's just, what do I need? Do I need a bigger kitchen? Do I entertain? Do I need a finished basement? I'll tell you, the last house we got, which I'm in now, had a finished basement, and that alone saved me so much headache, because I was like, I don't want to, finish a basement. Mm-hmm. I really don't. So they have to just make a pros and cons list, or maybe even like a priority list. Just, what do I have to have? And then what would be nice if it was there? And kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm. So if people are dipping their toe in it right now, they're hearing about how people are getting, crazy amounts of money for their home, and that their home would sell that quickly, and maybe they've been looking for that new office to work from at home or whatever, but then recognizing that obviously if they move and sell their home, they have to purchase something else, and they're competing against, as you mentioned, 12, 15, 20 other offers. Is it going to calm down, or will it be at this fever pitch for a while? Or what do you recommend to those people that aren't like, I need to get out right now, but I do need to get out sometime?
Right. Well, they have to expect to pay over asking. That's a given. And they really can't get creative in negotiations, because it's very fierce out there. I can tell you, according to our National Association of Realtors, in February, 36% of offers submitted, and they're basically closed now, were over asking price.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Yeah, that's huge. So you can still go out and be competitive, but the thing is, they might have to actually, I don't want to say settle, it's a bad word in our industry, but they have to, like, a home that may need more work than what the buyer wanted to do might be their best course, because even in this market, some of those homes will still sit. So, maybe budging a little bit, like, okay, I have to buy something now, but I'm going to pay more, of course. But, with the rates going up and, everything else, like, I do think that by the end of this year, the market's going to start to turn, because, I really do. The problem we're having right now is that sellers know that they can sell their home in a heartbeat.
Right.
But they're afraid that they're not going to find something on the buying side. And so, with with more seller confidence increasing and things like that, that might help a little bit, right? You know, our vaccines are rolling out, which plays a part in real estate, but I don't think it's going to solve much until probably towards the end of the year, we'll start to see it turn. So people should know that they have to be aggressive. They have to have a professional that can get out fast
and be able to help them along the way. Well, Jason, we are out of time, but Jason Gelios here on the show, you can find more about him. He has not only a book, but also a YouTube channel where you can get all the great tips and tricks, the do's and the don'ts for home buying, whether it's your first time or maybe you're just getting out on the hunt. You can find more about him at it'sallabouttherealestate.com.